Stephen's Bible personality profile. Around the world, the gospel has most often taken root in places prepared by the blood of martyrs. Before a person can give his life for the gospel, however, he must first live his life for the gospel. One way God trains his servants is to place them in insignificant positions. Their desire to serve Christ is translated into the reality of serving others. Stephen was an effective administrator and messenger before becoming a martyr. Stephen was named one of the managers of food distribution in the early church long before violent persecution broke out against Christians. There was already social ostracism. Jews who accepted Jesus as Messiah were usually cut off from their families. As a result, their believers depended on each other for support. The sharing of homes, food, and resources was both a practical and necessary mark of the early church. Eventually, the number of believers made it necessary to organize the sharing. People were being overlooked. There were complaints. Those chosen to help manage were chosen for their integrity, wisdom, and sensitivity to God. Besides being a good administrator, Stephen was also a powerful speaker. When confronted in the temple by various anti-agnostic groups, Stephen's logic in responding was convincing. This is clear from the defense he made before the council. He presented a summary of the Jews' own history and made powerful applications that stung his listeners. During his defense, Stephen must have known he was speaking his own death sentence. Members of the council could not stand to have their evil motives exposed. They stoned him to death while he prayed for their forgiveness. His final words show how much like Jesus he had become in the short time. His death had a lasting impact on young Saul, Paul, of Tarsus, who would move from being a violent persecutor of Christians to being one of the greatest champions of the gospel the church has known. Stephen's life is a continual challenge to all Christians. Because he was the first to die for his faith, his sacrifice raises questions. How many risks do we take in being Jesus' followers? Would we be willing to die for him? Are we really willing to live for him? Strengths and accomplishments. One of 7 leaders chosen to supervise food distribution to the needy in the early church. Known for his spiritual qualities of faith, wisdom, grace, and power, and for the Spirit's presence in his life. Outstanding leader, teacher, and debater. First to give his life for the gospel. Lessons from his life. Striving for excellence in small assignments prepares one for the greater responsibility. Real understanding of God always leads to practical and compassionate actions toward people. Vital statistics. Church responsibilities, distributing food to the needy. Contemporaries, Paul, Caiaphas, Gamaliel, the apostles. Key verse, and they stoned Stephen, calling upon God, and saying, Lord Jesus, receive my spirit. And he kneeled down, and cried with a loud voice, Lord, lay not this sin to their charge. And when he had said this, he fell asleep. Acts 7 verses 59 and 60. Stephen's story is told in Acts 6:3-8:2. He is also mentioned in Acts 11 verse 19, 22-20.